Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Football Betting Series here on YouTube Premier League edition. December continues to be a struggle for us, but we did manage to claw back a little bit of the deficit. Our December record now stands at 19 wins, 11 losses with 4 pushes, and a monthly loss of £23.72. Adding that to our overall record, we're standing at 92 wins, 39 losses and 18 pushes, and a total series profit of £473.01. I've got 3 picks in today's episode to wrap off the year, hoping to turn this negative run into a positive, and if not, turn a new leaf in the month of January. Without further ado, let's get on with it. Our first pick sees 18th place Leicester City playing host to 7th place Manchester City, and Leicester, despite scoring the opening goal in their last game, they were simply overpowered by Liverpool. Gakpo levelled the scores just before half-time, and the Reds went on to add 2 more in the second half to finish the scoring at 3-1, with contributions from Curtis Jones and Mohamed Salah. In terms of form, this means it's 3 losses in a row for the Foxes, and they're winless in their last 4 Premier League games. They host a Manchester City side who were held to a draw in their last match against Everton. There was a stroke of good fortune around Bernardo Silva's deflected shot off Branthwaite as it spun past Pickford into the Everton goal. That lead was then taken away by Iliman Ndiaye, whose quick touch and half-volley finish levelled the scoring before the half-time interval. Erling Haaland was then denied from the penalty spot thanks to Pickford's heroics, and from then on Manchester City could not break down a solid Everton side. 1-1 the final score. In terms of form, this does mean that Man City are winless in their last 4 Premier League games, and they have just the 1 win in their last 13 games across all competitions. In terms of the head-to-head record, won the last encounter at the Etihad. A quick treble from Stones and Erling Haaland's brace ended the contest after just 25 minutes. The Foxes added a little bit of respect to the scoreline with Iheanacho's late goal against his former side, but there was to be no comeback. 3-1 to Manchester City, the final score. That win added to a streak of 5 consecutive victories in the Premier League, with Leicester City's last win coming in September of 2020. My prediction for today's game is that City's poor run of form can't go on forever, and surely they must be able to beat a side in the bottom 3. There were some positive flashes for City against Everton in terms of the directness of their play, and if that vein of form continues, they will get a result here. Leicester City appear to be a bit rudderless right now, and will do well to generate anything in this game. It's an open and shut case for me, Manchester City to win for a full stake in bet number 1. Our second selection sees 16th place Crystal Palace playing host to 20th place Southampton. And Crystal Palace, they picked up a solid away draw on the south coast against Bournemouth in their last games. Whilst the Cherries did edge the game statistically, neither side were able to make the breakthrough with the final score 0-0. In terms of form, this does mean that Palace are winless in their last 3 as 2024 comes to a bit of an anticlimactic end for the Eagles, and they'll be looking to push on in this game to set themselves up nicely in 2025. Southampton's 2024 is also ending on a bit of a low. They lost their last match by 1-0 against West Ham. Despite the Saints turning in one of their better performances of the season, they did fall to Jared Bowen's contribution, cementing them at the bottom of the league for the end of this year. In terms of form, this does mean that the Saints are now winless in their last 9 matches, and they're going to have to pull out all the stops to try and rescue themselves from the drop in the second half of this season. In terms of the head-to-head record, the Eagles picked up a win in the last game, with Eberechi Eze being the difference between the 2 sides. His brace was the only thing that set the sides apart in a 2-0 win for the away side. In terms of the head-to-head form, despite an FA Cup win for the Saints, it's been Palace who have had the best of things in the league. They've won each of the last 3 encounters and are unbeaten in the last 4 meetings. My prediction for today's game is, despite a change in management, Southampton have continued their losing ways. Crystal Palace, aside from the stutter against Arsenal earlier in the month, have performed pretty well, and should have enough about them to beat a hapless Southampton side. Southampton are winless on the road this season and have just 2 points from 9 trips this year. All of this is leading me towards a Palace win, but in light of their less than stellar home form, I will temper things with a half stake in this one. Our third and final bet in today's episode sees 8th place Fulham playing host to 6th place Bournemouth. And Fulham, they visited Chelsea on Boxing Day. In their last match, Cole Palmer made the breakthrough for the Blues, but they could not press their advantage from here, and slowly but surely Fulham worked their way back into the game. From the second half statistics, that is very clear to see. Fulham managed to level the scores via substitute Harry Wilson, and then in stoppage time, Munoz snatched all 3 points with his reverse shot nestling past Sanchez into the corner of the Chelsea goal. The final result, 2-1 to Fulham. In terms of form, this does mean that the Cottagers are now unbeaten in their last 6 games, but they've lost just 1 of their last 10 matches. They play a Bournemouth side who shared the spoils in a 0-0 draw with Crystal Palace. The Cherries did edge the game statistically, but alas, there was no goal to be generated. In terms of form, this does mean that Bournemouth are now unbeaten in their last 6. In terms of the head-to-head record, the last match took place in February at Craven Cottage. Reed and Munoz put the host 2-0 up at the half, and Bournemouth clawed their way back into the game thanks to Senese's goal early in the second half, but that hope was quickly dashed 2 minutes later as Munoz scored once again, for Fulham's third of the match in a 3-1 victory. This result saw Fulham get revenge from their earlier loss in the season, and longer term there's not been too much of a pattern: 1 Fulham win, 2 Bournemouth wins and 1 draw in the last 4 Premier League meetings. My prediction for today's game is that both sides come into this game on the back of some decent form, and they have no worries about relegation. With faint hopes of European football, these sides must keep pace with the traditional top 6 sides, and therefore they're going to go forward and try to win every game that they can. And for me, this means goals. Fulham have seen over 2.5 goals in 3 of their last 5 Premier League games, and at home, 4 of the last 6 matches at the Cottage have seen over 2.5 goals as well, with an average of 3.34 goals per game. On the other hand, Bournemouth have seen over 2.5 goals in 6 of their last 9 Premier League matches, and on the road they've seen over 2.5 goals in each of their last 4 games, with an average of 4.25 goals per game in that sample. Finally, the head-to-head record: over 2.5 goals have come in each of the last 4 Premier League encounters, with both of Fulham's home games seeing 4 goals scored. Therefore, it's pretty simple. I'm going to take over 2.5 goals for a full stake in the final bet of today's episode. So there we have it, 3 picks in today's episode, all on the 29th, starting off with Leicester versus Man City. We're going to back the away side to pick up the win, odds of 1.39, a £40 full stake to return £15.20. Our second selection is Crystal Palace Southampton. We're backing Crystal Palace to pick up the win, odds of 1.64, a half stake of £20 to return £12.80. Wrapping up the episode, Fulham Bournemouth, over 2.5 goals, odds of 1.73, a full stake to return £29.20. So across the weekend we're going to be risking £80 to hopefully pick up as much as £57.20. Will we do so? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to tune into the next episode. But if you have made it to this point in the video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Don't forget to check out the continental picks in the pinned comment down below, and as always, have yourself a lovely day.